College. I invite you to acknowledge with me the original inhabitants of this land that we are on, the Miami and the Kickapoo Nations, and to recognize their stewardship of this beautiful land we live on, long before many of our forebears arrived here. Also, I'd like to remind you of the exits. In the case there is a fire, which there will not be, but just in case, the exit behind you and also to the sides are where you should head immediately. Cell phones, please turn them off or silence them. I would prefer, I'm sure you would prefer, that yourself and those sitting near you can fully embrace the live theater experience. I also want to announce the 22-23 season coming up next year. We have an exciting lineup of comedies of all sorts. Classic, dark, and romantic. Something for everyone. Sometimes all three of those things in one comedy. We'll start with Shakespeare's As You Like It in the fall, which does include all three of those characteristics. Then we will do Hand to God, and then we'll end with Stage Kiss. Hand to God was written in 2011. Stage Kiss was written in 2013. Hand to God is written by Robert Askins, and Stage Kiss by Sarah Rule. So we'll do old and we'll do new. Come back and join us. Finally, I'd like to invite you to come down closer if you'd like. You don't need to sit up there. We are not being mic'd, so if you have the ability to come down and feel more comfortable down closer, you're welcome to do that if you're up for it now. All right. Welcome to this performance of Where is Our Beloved Community? A reminder that this is an original show created by the company that you will witness tonight. It is based exclusively on stories of Wabash students, faculty, staff, and alumni. We have not written anything into that, but rather faithfully recreated those stories to give you a fuller picture of what it's like to be a Wabash student, what it was like to be a Wabash student, what it is like to live in this community, both on campus and in Crawfordsville. Thank you, guys. I'll do a little song and dance here while they move down. Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight.
It's the most racist thing I've had happen to me at Wabash. I got a Black Lives Matter sign up in my window. It's 9:30. Somebody throws a beer bottle through our fucking window that says Black Lives Matter on the sign that was right here. Somebody throws a fucking beer bottle through our fucking window. A beer bottle through our fucking window.
What the fuck?
Shit.
I can't take this.
Get me out.
Wake up.
No, this can't be.
Where did these people
So
even come from?
disrespectful.
We have to. What's
There's always something.
Wow. You gotta be joking.
What's
Seriously?
going on?
What the hell's going on down there?
I'm sorry.
Broken window sparks campus controversy. Of course it was him. Of course it was him.
Who did this, bro?
You know they're saying it's a dope.
Are you serious? Are you kidding me right now?
He lived in our house. How are either of us supposed to feel safe anymore?
I don't know. Should we just leave?
And what would that help? What would that fix? It's obviously that it's not just here. How do we help?
Why is it always on us to fix everything?
Because no one else will.
How are you doing?
I'm just struggling to figure out. Is it me? Is it us?
Don't be ludicrous.
Where are we supposed to feel safe?
I mean, why here? Wabash College, okay? We're supposed to be gentlemen. We're supposed to be like brothers.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Stuff like this, it's happening everywhere.
But we're scared. Is it gonna spread to us? To him?
I mean, what can I do?
Last night, the peace on campus was broken when a racist student... No. Back up. We don't know if he was racist. We don't know his intentions. Let's stick to what we know as of right now. So, last night, a bottle broke through a window bearing a Black Lives Matter sign. 2 of the room's occupants were there at the time of the incident. We will keep you updated as more information comes along.
Where's the compassion? Where's the patience? Where's the brotherhood?
There was a turning point.
Our stories matter.
I've learned something.
We can do better.
There was an instance.
I wish I would have found out about this sooner.
Is this the life?
When I'm told I'm a racialized minority, I can see that. I wasn't born here. I was born in another country, so I didn't grow up with that tag. I have different features, but don't we all? You have different features from each other, and that's what distinguishes you. But anyways, I think racism and the concept of race is so limited. Racism is in the eyes of the racist, never in the face of the racialized person. I prefer to describe my relationship with people like a soccer team. When you're watching soccer, the soccer field is full of people. You don't see nationalities, you only see two teams playing. You don't see skin color, just players playing with each other. Here at Wabash, I have my soccer team. I gather with some students and we play sometimes, so I feel like home. I play soccer also at home, so thank you, Wabash, for being my soccer team. Let's go! Yeah.
I am telling the story of Dr. Sujata Saha. Oftentimes I question, what is the difference? The difference between difference and similarities. The two dance back and forth, constantly in sync, foreign to both new people from new places. I do have a home here, but technically my original home is back in India with my parents. However, I cannot always go back whenever I feel like it. Though this nation's quilt is woven with varied fibers, I happen to be the loosened thread threatened to be cut. Is it because my skin is 2 shades too dark? Do you question my identity because of my accent? Do you stereotype my facial features? Am I different, or am I just unfamiliar to you?
What does it actually mean to find a sense of belonging as a Black man at an institution that was not initially designed for someone like me to exist within it? And what exactly does that look like when you think about the sort of predominantly white demographic of Crawfordsville? You think about the predominantly white demographic of the college, and then you think also about the single-sex element of the college, right? How do these things sort of influence the way that you think about your own identity in relationship to the institution at large?
You know, because at the end of the day, you know, I have to be the one that takes that initiative to put in like the extra work to, you know, to kind of like bridge that gap that I have within my cultures and with my heritage too.
It's weird because I feel like I feel more pride of being a Mexican once I came up here than I was down there, just because everybody else was Mexicans.
Of course, at Wabash, there is not very many Asian students, and there's just a feeling of it feels like there's an invisible wall between me and domestic students. Nobody put it there intentionally. I don't think so.
I feel like that pressure is pressure makes diamonds, right? So I think that it's one of those things that it's an unfortunate reality of what it has to be, but it's a complete resemblance of the actual real world. And so when I think about the pressure that I'm facing here, it's only going to get much more, when you go into the real world. So I think that that pressure, if it was up to me or someone else to make a difference, then I would pick myself, 100 times out of 100.
I think it helps people be comfortable, and people are comfortable that's when they do their best.
There will be some places that will be uncomfortable, but a couple things about that. First, like as human beings, those places of discomfort are where we learn the most about ourselves, I think.
The questions I get where somebody asks me where I'm from and I say California, and they don't really mean that, you know what I mean? They want to know what your ethnicity is. So eventually I have to get to the point where they ask me where my parents are from, and so that's when it gets established that I'm Korean American.
Like we said, it's predominantly white school, so I'm going to have a lot of white friends more than I have a friend of a different race. And seeing their point of view and how they see it as wrong, like they're going to teach their children that, it's wrong to judge somebody of a race. So I believe it could die out the system that we have here.
Being a foreigner or kind of racially speaking minority groups here on campus or even, in this town, is not always bad, because sometimes I feel like the minority group people would take on defense, not even knowing, assuming everyone's being very hostile.
There were the alumni, there were some alumni who were adamantly opposed to having somebody black be in the fraternity.
But here in Crawfordsville, of course it's distinct enough. If somebody is talking about a woman who is from India or with brown skin, of course it has to be me.
And so I couldn't help but to wonder, but damn, what do you think about me? Really? I couldn't help but to think, also, do you see a black man? Actually, do you see a black man? Do you see a man, to say it differently, who's self-conscientiously black?
I'm telling the story of Dr. Julian Whitney. I recall it was my first year working here, and it was also an election year. And I had just left my home to begin commuting to campus as I did any morning. This morning, though, I was interrupted when two white men shouted the N-word at me from their truck. In the moment, I didn't exactly know how to feel. There was this mix of emotions, but one thing did become clear, and it was that this community was one that was not originally designed for me. I think I learned, though, that at Wabash, I had a little bit of a different of an experience. See, I have Tim Lake in my department, which is a black man that teaches in the same exact department that I am in. He's already tenured, and he's experienced aspects of life in Crawfordsville that I could never imagine. His mere presence alone, though, is a motivating factor. And it's a little bit of a signal to me that I can find a place in this community. But I think that's just the truest part of the Wabash community. It's that you have to figure out and decide if this is the place for you. And I think I still am.
Hi, I'm telling the story of Emiliano Delgado and Sammy Lebron. Sammy Lebron is from Philadelphia, and Emiliano Delgado is from the Rio Grande Valley. Both of their stories start in the freshman year, the fall semester, but Sammy's story starts in the summertime. Now in the summertime, there's this program to help serve underserved students to help them progress through college. And at this program, there was mostly Hispanics and blacks and one white guy. Now, someone told me that it is not like that at all, that it's completely flipped. And they were right. When the first day of college came, it was a little uncomfortable. I mean, coming from a predominantly Hispanic community to a predominantly white community, it was a major culture shift. Until I found Kappa Sig. Now at Kappa Sig, we have this tradition where we go to Walmart, we buy various meats, and we cook them on the grill to make pescada, empanadas, and arroz con dulce. It has this great sense of family feeling that I love back at home. And I just wanted to say thank you, Kappa Sig, for this.
My name is Sebastian Wein. I graduated from high school here in Ohio. And for the longest time, that is all everyone will know about me when asked about my origins. My parents are in China. I am Chinese. But I didn't want people to find out that I'm of international origins. I wanted to blend in. I want people to know that I am one of them. I'm not different. So I decided to hide it away. Do you still remember the story about Michael Jackson? They say, well, he tried to bleach his skin, but rumors were that they say he didn't feel comfortable being himself in the community of the United States. Regardless of the reality of that story, it resonates with me so much. I didn't want it to be Asian. I wanted to be white. But then one day, my best friend asked me, what is it so wrong about being Asian? And I couldn't logically find a reason to it at all. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, my name is Youjian Guang. I am from China, and I'm proud of it.
I am telling the story of Chris French. I am a member of the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies, and I'm from Gary, Indiana. I feel as if when I walk into class and I'm the only black student, I'm representing more than just myself. You see, people see a guy from Gary and they have a perception of me that I'm a gangbanger, that I'm a criminal, that I can't find success. So I live every day. I strive to place myself with high values and show them, to break these stereotypes. I am not some Gary gangbanger. I am a Gary success story. You cannot generalize us all. But you know what? When people ask me about this pressure of representing more than just my race, I tell them I love it. I do love it. It's like an athlete in crunch time. You know what they say about pressure? It makes diamonds. I am telling the story of Khoi, our poem. I am a member of Wabash's African Students Association, and I am a son of immigrants from Ghana of West Africa. Representation was a big struggle for me coming to Wabash. You see, I know being the only black kid in most of my classes, I'm gonna have to come to class and address certain comments made by my peers that I really shouldn't have to address to begin with. I mean, why? Why do I always have to be put in positions to where I feel like I have to stand up for my race? It's truly hurtful to have to deal with that every day of your life. But I know Wabash isn't the only place I'm gonna have to deal with that. But that's why I appreciate this place, because it's taught me throughout my time here, not only how to speak up, but when to speak up.
I'll be telling the story of Isaiah Mcwilliams. My name is Isaiah Mcwilliams, and I'm from South Bend, Indiana. I was a little nervous coming to Wabash. Coming from a predominantly black, impoverished school, I worried that I wouldn't have the same academic skill set needed to keep up with my peers here at Wabash. Then on top of that, coming from a family of poverty myself, I worried that just as a black man, I would struggle to relate to my peers here at Wabash. And then there's that moment, sophomore year, where I actually accepted help from a professor. And then I started to realize that all the things that I thought would be problems for me here weren't really problems at all. And then there's that time with the police.
Telling the story of Ansley Valentine, an alumni of Wabash College. Ansley attended Wabash in the early 90s as a theater major. He was a member of Sigma Chi and one of their first Black pledges. What Ansley noticed is that it was hard for his brothers to pledge him because they didn't quite know if it was okay to haze, because that's what they did in fraternities. And so there was a little animosity there between his pledge brothers because they didn't feel like they were being treated the same. Ansley decided he would come to Wabash. He was a member of a family who had a lot of women. And then in theater, he was a theater major. There was also a lot of women. So coming to Wabash, he had his bros, he had love, he had all that he was looking for coming to Wabash. But one year, when the Bell Games happened and the homecoming happened, there was a specific alumnus who was not willing to have a Black member of Sigma Chi. And he still believed in the White Claws. And so when those big events and activities happened, Ansley's pledge brothers felt like they had to hide him. He could not be seen during those times of joy and excitement and brotherhood. I'm going to tell the story of Kim King II. When Kim came to Wabash, he had a great freshman experience. But there was one particular experience he remembers in the classroom. As a freshman, he and a fellow classmate had very coarse discussion. And this fellow classmate, he could not understand why this classmate could not have compassion and patience with the material. And that this classmate couldn't hear anything and couldn't hear a non-white voice. Kim walked out of class furious. As he walked back to his dorm room, he was wrapped in frustration because he could not understand the lack of patience from a classmate all to this day, who he remembers his name, where he came from, and some other details. As Kim walked back to his classroom, his phone rang, and it was Professor Peter Frederick. Professor Frederick had anticipated that there was going to be some frustration that Kim had to talk out. As an 18-year-old man having to deal with such conversations, he knew and anticipated that the conversation was necessary. Professor Frederick challenged Kim to think this would not be the first hard conversation that you would have as you go on in life.
I am telling the story of Anthony Mendez. I graduated from Wabash in 2020, and I am, at the same time, half South Korean, quarter Mexican, and quarter white. This incredible mixture of backgrounds gives me a rich culture upon which I can build my identity. But at the same time, it also leaves me liable to be racialized in multiple ways. For example, I still remember freshman year, the swim team was organizing these swimming lessons in the community, and there was this gentleman who came in and kept confusing me for my Chinese teammate, even though he was taller, I was thinner. We didn't even look the same, and yet that guy still confused us, which really rubbed me off the wrong way. On the other hand, I also have a Mexican last name, Mendez, and I've only started learning Spanish in high school. So as a result, when I got to Wabash, I got placed in a 100 level Spanish class. That first day of class, I felt guilty, felt estranged, especially given how much emphasis Mexican people put on speaking Spanish as part of their culture. But still, those two events did not deter me. I kept on moving, kept on growing, and kept learning Spanish. So that today, these three identities, South Korean, Mexican, and white, are all coming together as one, as me. And I'm looking forward to exploring how they intertwine and how my identity will keep growing.
I am playing the part of Dr. Christy Byun. I know who I am, and I know where I'm from. However, to the Westerner, I am nothing but a generalization. Which one matters? None. The extent of my identity relies solely on how I'm seen. When will I be seen? I am waiting. See, the woman at Walmart might have known that I was Korean because she watched Korean soap operas, but how often do I get this generalization of, oh my God, you look like that one Chinese lady from that one TV show? I'm still waiting patiently for people to understand that I'm Korean, not Japanese. Yes, I'm Asian, but no, I'm not Chinese. I'm not all but one, and I know who I am.
I'm telling the story of Professor Yao Li. Staring, shouting, honking. Those are the most awful forms of human curiosity. When I came to Grasperville, to the USA, I had to suffer that. Not from Wabash community, but from the people that live here. And you know what? I was also full of bias, full of prejudice. But I could break through all of them by getting to know people. For me, people are like bubbles floating in the air. Sometimes they bounce away from each other, but other times they merge. And that thing in the middle is not race. It's not the skin color. It's the same interests that we share, the hobbies, the things in common. The more time I spend here at Wabash in the US, the more I want to hold on to my roots. I'm proud to be Chinese. And one of my favorite traditions is the 4 gentlemen flower. You have the gentleman rule. We have 4 gentlemen flowers, and they represent the virtues that a person has to have. And I want to live up to them. I want to thrive in adversity. Just like the plum blossom that grows when everything is dead in December, in winter. I want to be like the orchid, humble, because its beauty and its scent can be easily disregarded. I want to be strong and open-minded, like the bamboo. And last but not least, I want to be strong and thriving, just like the chrysanthemum that is still alive when everything is dying in autumn. So I am a gentleman. Are you?
I mean, I was the one who got the bottle thrown through my window.
The biggest one is other people can go Mexico. I think there's in America or the United States, there's a connotation between the Latino, Hispanic, Iberian, Latino, and be a Mexican. I'm not. I was born in Nicaragua, and I migrated here in Mexico.
I feel like there's Crawfordsville and there's Wabash, and I think Wabash is actually like a fairly does a good job as an institution of saying things, at least on the faculty side, that make it feel less exclusionary. Obviously, there are pockets that would.
The topic of race, particularly about something to do with African Americans specifically, comes up, and then you become the focal point, and you're expected as a student to defend your entire race or speak on it when you might not be educated on it as much as you could be. But there's always that pressure there to feel like you have to be educated on everything to do with Blackness, because if you don't defend what's going on, especially when certain viewpoints are being expressed, and you know they aren't typically right or as educated on it as they could be, you feel like there's a pressure on you to be like, have to have a PhD in all things Blackness.
Like coming to the United States, I feel like I've joined this international table and have friends from everywhere in the world.
An even deeper place in my heart is going to be held for the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies, because that's my first real introduction to Malcolm X, who has had probably the biggest impact on my way of thinking in terms of social justice, advocacy for different issues regarding Black people, and just my understanding of Blackness as a whole, and the idea of like Black pride and doing for the Black people what nobody else is going to do.
It seems like oftentimes unity is prioritized over doing what's right or taking action that actually needs to take place.
I am telling the story of Leo Warburton. I am a member of the Malcolm X Institute of Black Studies, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. So a little over a year ago, I was away from campus one weekend visiting a friend. Then I get a message from my roommate. He sends me a video, and someone threw a wine bottle through the window of our quad, right through the Black Lives Matter sign. Honestly, in that moment when he told me that, I was pissed. every negative feeling you could be possibly feeling, I felt. I didn't know what to think, what to do. I wanted to know who did this, why they did this. What did we do to deserve this? But after some time, I gave it some thought. And you know what? I decided to use it as an opportunity to push for equality and for justice on campus.
That moment when the window was shattered, I felt it. But to me, my window was never physical. I came here all the way from Asia, and we crossed the oceans coming here to have the opportunity to grow and to learn more about the world. I came here knowing full well that Wabash lies at the heart of Provinceville, a predominantly white community. Knowing that, but the campus has promised me one thing, that it promised me the prospect of diversity, of inclusion, and equality. It promised me to uphold all of that. And for the longest time, I felt that I was protected, that that promise was upkept. But it didn't matter until that one confrontation. It was right here on campus. It didn't matter that it could be students of Wabash. It didn't matter that it could be outsiders. All it mattered is that at that very moment when it happened on the place that I felt safe, I was left vulnerable, and something was shattered at that moment.
I'm telling the story of Davion Garrett, and that feeling of vulnerability is something that's not uncommon to, I bet, every Black student on campus. Oftentimes, we find ourselves being the only Black student in the room, and it feels like there's this unimaginable pressure to know everything pertaining to Blackness or the people that you love and care about. But it's interesting because I was in a class just this semester, and I brought forth a point in the discussion that hadn't been considered. And I felt like it was important that someone said something about it because it affected Black people. It's just odd though, because the response that I received, well, was silence. From my peers, from my instructor. And it kind of just felt like the things that I was so passionate about and the things that mattered to me just didn't matter to anyone else.
I'm telling the story of Jonathan Silva Melendez. Now, there was this party in my fraternity, and it was during the transition. I asked one of the people in charge, I said, hey, can we play some Latino music in here? And his response was, oh, of course we can, but later in the night when people are feeling a little bit better or when there's less people. That didn't sit well with me at all. I was a little disappointed. I mean, is my culture not good enough to be played at a party?
My uncle went here, my cousin came here, and they attended MXI, and naturally I was looking forward to coming here. And upon coming here, right after the George Floyd incidents, a good friend, somebody who I considered a friend, called me the N-word to my face. And that was just the first time. That same person wound up calling me that again around some other peers, and they came back and told me. And I had to deal with that. And I had another group who also referred to me as the N-word. I really had to reevaluate my friendships here and what I was here for, because it shook me to my core.
I'll be telling the story of Chase Burrow. My name is Chase from Houston, Texas. And for me, there's just been a series of incidents that just have concluded that there's no place for me here. Beginning with, asking one of my fraternity brothers to change his pledge name from Inspector Faggot to having that concern appreciated, only to find out a couple of weeks later that he's still going by. When I confronted my fraternity brothers attempting to build a space where that type of homophobia just can't exist, I was again met with silence. Or was it on the first day of February when I was met with, Happy Black Person Day, do we get a free N-word pass? Silence.
You know, I think it's so important for us as minority students to really find our space on this campus. I'm telling the story of Kenny Coleman, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that Wabash has presented me to learn more about my history and my culture and the things that I get to decide are important to me. It's been liberating, honestly. Just, for example, the experience of being in the MXI and being exposed to Malcolm X and his ideologies. That kind of reshaped the way I view myself and the world and Blackness and social justice and advocacy and all of the microaggressions that we deal with on this campus. But I think the fact of the matter is people just don't give a damn. So it's up to us. Unfortunately, it always falls back on us to be learned on the things that are important to us and our people. Because who else will?
Esta es la historia de María Cristina Monsalve. I remember when I came to Wabash. I was so happy. I was with 2 suitcases and a couple of boxes. And in those boxes, there was uncertainty. And that was the uncertainty that a lot of immigrants have to face when they come to the US. The uncertainty of not knowing whether you're gonna be deported the next day. And that happened to me. That's the story of the people from the world. But then, the knowing came. I knew. And Wabash welcomed me. And with the welcome came the celebration, the parties, the gathering. And yeah, I finally made it. I joined this international table. Everyone was sharing their bread. And for a moment, I thought that someone was missing. Someone is still missing. I didn't have my bread. And to tell you, the bread in my country, in Ecuador, it's a bread that when you eat it, you feel like it hugs you. And then I realized, hey, I'm missing hugs. Nobody here hugs. And I was thinking, and I discovered tango. And through tango, I can have that embracement, even from a stranger, that you're never gonna see again.
Hasta tu casa, yo no sé cómo he podido, si me han dicho que no está si me han dicho que te has ido, cuánta nieve hay en mi alma, qué silencio hay en tu puerta, y al llegar hasta el umbral, un candado de dolor me detuvo el corazón.
And just like that, the stranger goes away, and you are left with that feeling of abandonment. It's a feeling like back then when I didn't know. But during this time, he has held me. I was someone hugging me, guiding me. And yeah, Wabash welcomes you, but Wabash doesn't hug you.
I am telling the story of Dr. Savitri Kunze. From a young age, women are told what they can and can't do, what they can and can't wear. See, little girls in middle school can't wear spaghetti straps because it'll distract boys. Distract boys from learning, and distract men from self-control. The same self-control that gets me catcalled on my day off when I'm walking my dogs is the same self-control that makes women feel safe visiting an all-male college. It's the same self-control that means women faculty members don't have to wear long dresses or cover up their shoulders in order to not feel objectified at work. Is that Wabash College culture? Does over-sexualizing women make you a gentleman? Do you not have mothers, sisters, cousins? Will your daughters have to face the same fear that I have too met at a crossroads of intersectionality?
Try not to leave campus on foot at night by myself. I usually, if you know, the only times I've had to walk off campus is maybe to a gas station or something, and I usually go with a few brothers just because I feel like it's safer that way. But you know, granted, we walk past Confederate flags on the way to the gas station in certain windows or on the front of a truck or something, and so it makes you a little uneasy.
And the guys at Wabash were like, you know, it's fine. Like if you feel unsafe or uncomfortable, like don't worry about it. We had your back because like this. I mean, Wabash itself, those guys make me feel safe.
I think coming here really kind of like drew out the idea of you are just another, you know, Hispanic person or person of color. You're a Black person.
I expect to not feel you like you know what I mean. Like I expect to feel not included. Like I expect to feel kind of like an outcast. Like I just don't really like expect that.
I'm telling the story of Kim King II. Kim has been a student here, worked in admissions, and has currently come back in the fall, working on the project for social injustice and inclusion. And upon coming here and coming back, I had a friend from the community who promises to protect and to serve, who asked, why are you coming back? What are you doing here at the college? And I shared with him what I would be doing here. And as I shared with him, I could see the disappointment in his body. Oh, here we go about race and that conversation. And that hurt me because this is someone who I eat with, I drink with, I socialize with. He's like a brother to me. But to see his body reaction, to see his energy when I talk about what I was doing, I thought he cared. I thought he was a friend. But that let me know he wasn't willing to have the conversation. He told me, well, perception is a reality. Did he not see that I was a Black man? That these issues affected me? And so perception is reality, is just a way to dismiss what's important.
My name is Khoi, and there was a turning point in my own personal story, and it happened during COVID year when we were running away from America. It was COVID, it was March, first month. We didn't know any better, but my mother called in the middle of the night, expressing her concerns that we don't know what this is, but based on our experience, we should protect ourselves. So I grabbed some of the things that I packed a year before and started to using them. To me, this is a piece of cloth that helps me protect myself and protect our beloved community. But to the people around me, this is not a piece of protection. This is a replacement of my own identity, that I am no longer Vietnamese, that now I am a virus, that we are all from Wuhan, China. And it felt hurt. I ate with these people. I still remember in April, it was 4 a.m., and I was hurriedly packaging my things away and rushing all my luggages on the car. You know why? Because we were rushing to the Indy airport, rushing through the night. It was foggy, but who cares? We were running away. And to me, what left me out of our community was not a warm welcome, a warm embrace, but just blank stares and a fear instilled upon my heart that at any moment before I can cross the Pacific Ocean, that the muzzle can be pointed at my head at any given time. We didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. I was just protecting myself.
My name is Katrin Wilson. About 2 weeks prior to the show's opening, I took a poster kind of similar to this one to a space that I considered safe. Less than 24 hours after posting that poster, though, I found it something a little like this. I sent a photo of the dismembered poster to the collective that I shared that space with, hoping anyone would have had anything to say about it. Instead, I was met with silence. Another person of that collective reiterated the photo, reiterated that this was something that happened and we should talk about it. Silence. You see, the interesting thing to me about this story is not that I asked anyone to walk a day in my shoes or ask me how I felt or anything like that, but rather I brought something to my community. And what do I have to show for it? This.
My name is Josh Campbell, and as a white guy on this campus, I have not experienced any of these incidences. But when I joined the project Our Beloved Community, I began to hear stories of times when people who are minorities on this campus were treated poorly. And I was disappointed, and it hurt a little bit because I was kind of confused. I didn't know that this was even something that was going on. And these are people that I've come to care about, and I just didn't even know that it was happening.
My name is Malik Barnes. Guess Wabash was a part of that rude awakening my mother always told me life would bring. From that moment in freshman year, surrounded by pledges who thought that I was too good to pick up trash cans full of trash being thrown down the hallway. My point was always that we were all too good for that, and that by cleaning it up over and over and over again, you're only preparing the next place for them to wreck. The best I got from upperclassmen was efforts to minimize that experience and say, oh, mine was at least 3 times worse. And even from faculty, it's just tradition. And that wasn't enough for me. So I left. Wasn't willing to assimilate, conform, or turn away from what I thought was right. But feeling unhopeful, but not hopeless, God held my head high. And I found a place, made a place for me on campus that didn't require me to deny myself, but demanded that I embrace it. We can do better.
My name is Dario Banuelos, Jr., and this is my story. So, freshman year, there was this event that all of us freshmen had to do. It was go around Crawfordsville, ask for money to help raise for this charity. And I was with 3 of my pledge brothers walking around town, knocking on doors. And at first it'd be like, oh, you'd love to help the community out. I would love to donate some money. But then they would see me, and they would immediately go behind their door and say, oh, sorry, never mind. I don't have any money, actually, I'm sorry. That made me feel like I was some sort of threat. I mean, I'm trying to help out the community. I'm trying to help other people too, but what do I know?
I wish I would have found out about this sooner. And I wish you did too. I should have seen the writing on the wall much earlier than I actually did. My name is Alex Rotaru, and this is how I usually speak when I do not use the accent that helps me pass. In fact, see this pen right here? This is the only sign that I may be different. However, today's story is not about me. Rather, it's about my friends who are people of color and who are afraid of going at night into Crawfordsville. When I first heard that, that really took me aback. I mean, I take night walks all the time. I walk to Crawfordsville Station late at night because that's how the train operates here. So, and I never felt unsafe in this town. So I asked one of my good friends why that is, and he told me this story. It was late at night, and he went to Walmart. And what he saw in that parking lot were Confederate flags flying and people wearing hoods burning a cross. Even for me as a foreigner, that sends a very, very clear message. And really, I don't know which is worse, seeing my friends suffer from this, or seeing how whenever I bring this up to my white friends, they're in shock. They don't know. And there usually is no way for them to know. And so we're left with these 2 realities. And when these 2 realities coexist, but not intermingle, is it any wonder that brotherhood rings hollow to me?
My name is Weddington, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I grew up in a primarily Hispanic community where I never really faced blatant racism until I came to Indiana. I remember being a part of a summer program before freshman year, and I was sitting outside of Williams Hall when a group of 4 big white dudes with guns pulled by in a truck and said, "Get the F out of here, N-word." I remember I didn't necessarily know how to react to this, and usually you get this fight or flight reflex, and I remember just standing there And that day, I remember just replaying it over and over and over in my head, and I was like, how should I have reacted to this? I'll be honest and say that I did cry for a little bit, but that will always remain like one of my core memories of how Wabash College worked.
Me llamo Alba Gonzalez. I'm one of the Spanish TAs here on campus. I came in August. I'm from Spain, and I remember when I was told that I was gonna come to Wabash, I was so excited. I had heard so many good things about Wabash community, so I thought, wow, I'm gonna have the time of my life here, like that's for sure. And I remember, you know, United States is so much different from like Spain, and you have traditions that I didn't know. You have fraternities that I mistook, and then like we were 1 month in, and homecoming was here. It was amazing, like so many things, traditions that nobody told me, nobody taught me about that. And I remember chapel sing, and this fraternity won, and they were all taking a picture together. And I'm a good tourist. I need to take snaps, okay? I wanted my snap with them, like I wanted my picture, so I jumped in, took a picture. And a few days later, someone told me that on the student list on campus, on the email student list, that I was not there, now I am. Someone had posted the picture, this picture, and asking who I was because they wanted to send me the picture. Like, that's nice. But then, not a nice person said something, and he said, choo-choo. I think most of you know about this because you're students here. And I didn't know what choo-choo meant because that's not a thing in my country, and I doubt outside the USA. That's a thing, if you're as naive as I was back then, choo-choo is like when a woman, mainly, has sex, has a train with men, like, and one after another. Do you think we like that? Do you think someone would do that? You know, all the excitement I was feeling, like, it went away. I was scared. I didn't want to be here. And that's my story. I don't want this picture anymore.
My name is Jamari Washington. So my story takes place a little over 2 weeks ago. I wanted to be a good brother and invite my younger brother down to Wabash to have a good time. You know, we had national act, big rapper coming to perform. I'm like, this is gonna be great. He's gonna see the Wabash experience, see how we live here. So my brother comes down, and I direct him to a parking spot, because obviously, as most of us students know, it's kind of hard to park here. So not but 5 minutes later, my brother sends me a message saying he's cornered in his parking spot by 3 squad cars. In that moment, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know the emotions that came over me. I saw red. I was angry. I was confused. Why? What did my brother do in 5 minutes to be cornered by 3 police officers? Then he tells me that someone had given a detailed description of his car and him in it, saying that my little 19-year-old brother looked suspicious. When he told me that, I was furious. I felt like this protective big brother. I had to save my brother. I had to help him. I had to make sure he was okay, make sure nothing happened to him. You see, on my arm, I have a tattoo. It says, "For those I love, I will sacrifice." And in that moment, I was ready to sacrifice my freedom to make sure my brother was okay. I was ready to sacrifice my life to make sure my brother was okay. Ready to become the next hashtag. Why? Because my little brother looks suspicious? What makes my brother so suspicious? Is this the life?
Time with the police. That time with the police is when they say just riding around in your car is looking suspicious. It's when they have probable cause. It's when you're handcuffed on the side of the road trying to cover your face. It's when you can't quite explain why you're shaking, handing over your license, afraid you might be the face of the next movement. It's when the political framing of us is needing taming, and that mistake's a wallet for a gun. More work still needs to be done.
I am telling the story of Leo Warburton once again. So, after the bottle came through my window, I wanted to do something. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to take action. So I came up with the Unity Walk. So this is something that's been lingering in my mind for a very long time. And once that bottle came through my window, I saw it as an opportunity to, push for growth and change in our Wabash community. You see, I wanted people to look within themselves and ask, truly, where is our Wabash community? Where is our beloved community?
The people united! The people united will never be defeated! Will never be defeated! The people united! The people united will never be defeated! Will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated!
We the people.
We the people.
Believe in the promotion.
Believe in the promotion
of equality.
Of equality.
It is not enough to not be racist. We have to be anti-racist.
It is not just a joke. We are our own people and we have our own values, not just things that can be picked up and appropriate your own labels.
Question your privilege and understand that these privileges are the guarantee that someone else does not have them.
Listen to people. Their stories matter and they're real.
Speak up. Our community depends on it.
Educate yourself. Learn more so you can understand more, so you can help more.
Have these difficult conversations. These two distinct realities exist because we are keeping things out of sight and out of mind. And people I care about are suffering and dying as a result.
Address microaggressions. Think before you speak and make sure that you hold your brothers and sisters accountable, even if it makes the conversation uncomfortable.
I'm not exotic. I'm not a trophy. I'm just like you.
Wake up. Be aware of what's happening around you. Be mindful, be conscious of how you're treating other people, how you're speaking to other people. Be a good human being.
Well, thank you for coming tonight and joining us and listening to the stories we presented. I'm Sebastian Wein. I'm the stage manager of the show, and now you have watched and listened to the stories. Just project. We would like to ask you to provide some inputs to tonight's event through a process called playback, which is an improvisational way to dramatize stories, and we will ask you to provide us with scripts, and we will play it back to you. Now, before we jump into it, just a brief show of hands. How many of you attend or have attended Wabash College? Okay, I see a lot. How many of you live in Crawfordsville or on campus? Okay. Now, how many of you know at least one actor on stage? How many of you know at least one storyteller whose stories you heard tonight? Okay. Now, how many of you are surprised by at least one story? And how many of you identify with at least one story? Thank you. Now we'll jump into the playback part. Now the first prompt, we would like to ask you, how are you feeling right now after listening to these stories? And Carlos will walk around and give you the mic. Who would like to share a feeling you're sitting with? Okay, Carlos, do you mind?
Feeling disappointed.
How so?
Well, I feel like we could be a lot better, you know? I know I could probably do more, I will do more, but, you know, it's not just a one-man team, it's everybody in the community. So, yeah.
So I'm hearing that you're disappointed, but you also feel like you want to do more.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're doing. Okay. Actors ready?
Yes.
Now let's watch.
Isn't there more that I can do? Isn't there more?
Damn.
These are just stories, but what can I do?
Damn.
Isn't there more?
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised?
Okay, but we have work to do.
Why am I not surprised?
Hey, we have things to do.
Why am I not surprised?
Dude.
Yo, I really messed up. I did not notice that.
It's tomorrow, okay? We got this. We got work to do, okay? We got
really
tomorrow.
messed up, man.
Tomorrow. Come on.
Thank you, actors. Is that your story? Thank you. Who else?
Sebastian.
Up top?
Along the same lines, how could I do more, but also how have I not heard of some of these as a minority? I've had some stuff, I was part of the interviews, but some of these fellow minorities I have not spoken to, I have not heard their stories. So how can we do more? This is an example of how to get those stories out there.
Thank you. So he's feeling, how can we do more? Actors ready? Let's watch.
There's definitely something here.
Where?
We can do this together.
We can do this.
No,
we can do this.
Hey, look over there. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, actors. This is not your story. What else?
Right in the middle.
So I have spotlights on me, so I can't really tell. Carlos, do you mind just?
Right here in the middle.
Okay. Do you mind
I'm
giving?
feeling surprised and a little disturbed about things that we heard. I was expecting stories of isolation, alienation, tokenism, loneliness, but surprised and really troubled by the number of stories about threats to personal safety and the sense of not being safe in town or on the campus. did not expect to hear that.
Okay, thank you. So he feels surprised, but at the same time disturbed. Actors ready? Let's watch.
What the? What? What? I'm sorry. This is not what I expected. What?
Whoa. That's kind of
what?
weird.
What? How? How did I not know about this?
Caught me off guard.
No. Thank you, actors. Is that your story? Well, thank you for sharing your feelings. Now we've shared how we feel. What can Wabash do? What's the first step you think Wabash can take to make this community that we live in a better place, a safer place? Any suggestions? Yes.
Engage in conversations with people you don't normally talk to, like get a wider perspective.
What type of conversations?
Meaningful ones, not just surface level, like actually get to know people and their experiences and hear their story, not just about their day.
Okay, thank you. So he thinks first step we should take is to engage in conversations, those conversations that we don't usually have. Actors ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's watch. I have a story.
I'll listen.
I'm listening.
But I have a story.
Say what?
We're here. Sure.
I have a story.
Is it different?
Elaborate.
What's up?
I have a story.
Tell me more.
Tell me about it.
Thank you, actors. Thank you. What else? Is that?
Entering more into these marginalized communities and bringing Wabash to them so that we can increase the level of diversity at the college.
What do you mean by entering into?
Going and taking resources we have and the opportunities we have here and bringing them into places such as the inner cities, Indianapolis, Chicago. I mean, my high school had Butler, Purdue, and at least 3 other colleges involved. And because of that, many inner city students were able to attend those colleges and were given many opportunities. And I think that Wabash has many things to offer, and just making ourselves known and apparent, asking those people to come here and be part of this community.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're saying we should bring these opportunity and resources to them, to the marginalized community. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Actors ready?
Yes.
Let's watch.
Hey, how you doing? Wabash College. Hey, how you doing? Wabash College Fights. Hey, how you doing? Hey,
Welcome, Wabash!
How you doing?
Welcome.
You should go to
Come on.
I know, y'all live in the dark over here. Come to Wabash. Come to Wabash. All's the worst.
Thank you, actors. What else? Yes.
Integrating these raw stories and raw feelings into classes like during questions and freshman tutorial.
Okay, integrating these stories. Actors ready? Let's watch. For those who don't know, they are applauding. What you said. That's a theatrical way of applauding. Okay. Now we've talked about what steps we can take. What dreams do you have for Wabash? Looking into the future. Now you've listened to these stories. What dreams do you have for Wabash and the community as a whole? Yes.
I believe a better Wabash that I found.
Okay. A better Wabash than I leave than the one I found. Actors ready? Let's watch.
Whoa! Here. We're here. Easy does it. Easy does it. Good.
Well, thank you, actors. Let's tell your story. What else? I saw some.
Top left.
Yes, you can just speak up. I've got spotlights on me. You can't really see past.
Top left.
This one over here.
Just yell at us.
A Wabash where people can feel safe in any place they are on campus or in the community. Not just one living unit or one place or one room. And a place where they feel like anyone they're around will protect and have their back, not just the select few.
Thank you. His dream is that wherever you are, you have people around you, you have this brotherhood, and you feel safe. Actors ready?
Yes.
Let's watch.
Right here. Come here. We're here for you.
Thank you.
For you.
Well, thank you, actors. Tell your story. We can have one last one about dreams. I'd like to share their dream. Yes.
Creating an environment where people who are victims of these feel safe enough to share.
Okay. Would you mind repeating the last part?
Yeah, that they feel safe enough to share them.
Okay. Creating a space where the victims feel safe enough to share their stories and be heard. Actors ready? Let's watch.
Speak up.
Help!
It's fine. It's fine.
Share.
You can share.
Let it out.
Thank you, actors. Tell your story. Well, thank you. Thank you again for coming tonight and listening to the stories. And please join me in appreciation of the actors again for telling the story. Thank you. That concludes tonight's performance. The actors will be outside if you want to talk to them.